Hello. Today's episode will cover extremely serious music with impressive soundscapes, but if you don't like classical music or depressing subjects, just skip this video and I'll be happy to see you again in one of my next productions. Most composers like to show you the noble and the beautiful things, the romantic and the serene aspects of life, tragic impacts included, yes, but only to demonstrate the triumph of the positive in the end. This video will show you some exceptions to the rule. Symphony number 11, opus 103, with the title The Year 1905, deals with the historical Bloody Sunday, on which numerous peaceful demonstrators were shut down by the soldiers of Tsar Nicholas II in front of the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. On Sunday, the 9th of January 1905, thousands of workers joined a march through the streets of St. Petersburg to the Winter Palace in order to demand more humane working conditions, a representative body of the people, land reforms, abolishment of censorship, and religious tolerance. But the army recklessly shut down a number of them. The first movement depicts the snow-covered place in front of the palace. The second, the procession of the workers. In the last third, which you really should listen to, all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose in the most brutal and violent percussive attack ever heard in Occidental classical music. The killing of numerous victims is translated into an orchestral chaos. The following third movement displays a sustained funeral atmosphere with an almost unbearable tension of muted strings. When I bought this CD many years ago, I just had humongous Electro Voice horn speakers and American threshold amplifiers, and I endured the chaos up to the threshold of pain in my ears. But when I heard this symphony years later in the concert hall, it immediately became clear to me that even the best of the best stereo setup will never be able to reproduce the sheer power of an orchestra playing at full volume. The 7th and 8th Symphony are about the Second World War. No other composer has dealt with the horrors of war like Shostakovitch, but the presentation of the cruel reality of war and the desperation of the people annoyed the regime, whose art ideal was plain optimistic self-glorification. Therefore, the two symphonies were a dangerous tightrope walk for the composer. You can get an impression of the music, for example, in the third movement of the 8th Symphony. Another incredibly tragic event was the so-called Long March, when 100,000 soldiers of the Red Army left their endangered stronghold in the southeast of China to escape the encirclement by Chiang Kai-shek's troops. Under unimaginable hardships, they traveled 12,500 kilometers, crossed 24 rivers and 18 mountain ridges, some of them ice and snow covered, were cruelly decimated by air raids and the well-equipped ground forces of the nationalists. After 1 year, a deplorable number of 7,000 survivors reached the aim in the northwest. Over 90,000 had perished. From my collection, I can recommend these 2 CDs, but YouTube offers you numerous versions for free. In order to decide if you like this kind of music, just listen from the beginning, or at least from minute 6 to at least minute 10. That's the section where the triumphal parade of military brass bands marching pompously right across your room can sound incredibly breathtaking if heard at an appropriate volume. Casualties are not restricted to war, but unfortunately can also be the result of life-threatening working conditions, for example, when fire damp explosions are likely to happen. Alfredo Casella has inserted such an accident in his 20-minute rhapsody titled Italia. Around the year 1900, 730 sulfur mines were exploited with devilish working conditions, violating human dignity and including child labor. Casella musically included a tragic mining disaster in his portrayal of Sicilian, respectively Neapolitan life, followed by the infamously popular song Funiculi Funicula, which starts as a sinister travesty and finally becomes more and more triumphant. Life has to go on in spite of all casualties. Thanks for watching. The next video will certainly be more positive again as usual. Stay tuned.